Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting a deep dive today that's purely practical. It's really custom tailored for you. If you're mastering your English, we're thinking maybe A2 or B1 level, and you need a critical skill talking about money in a way that sounds, absolutely natural.
Right, not like you're reading a script.
Exactly. So we've taken a stack of sources, these detailed communication guides for learners, and our mission is really to extract the shortcut. We want the essential phrases, the polite language, the common expressions you can just drop into a conversation right now.
And then this is about daily stuff, right?
Yeah, daily spending, saving goals, figure out if something's good value. We're trying to move beyond the textbook into real-life fluency.
And that fluency, it really hinges entirely on nuance. What we see across all this material is that you can't avoid talking about finances. It happens at work, with your friends, when you're planning anything, but it can be a social minefield. The challenge isn't really the grammar, it's the cultural difference in what's polite to share and what, should probably be kept private.
So our goal is to give you the exact language to navigate those tricky waters.
Exactly. So you never sound awkward, just well-informed.
So let's start at the very, very beginning with that fundamental question. Is it even okay to talk about money in English?
Right.
Because if you're coming from a culture where finances are just a completely private, maybe even a taboo subject, this whole shift can be pretty jarring.
That is the essential starting point.
Yeah.
What we found in these guides is that while money talk is definitely less open here than in some other parts of the world, it's not forbidden.
Okay.
It just depends entirely on the context.
Context.
The key is understanding the audience, who you're talking to. The material suggests 3 pretty clear levels.
Okay, what was that?
First, with close friends and family, the conversation is generally normal. You can share costs, plans, that sort of thing.
Makes sense.
Second, in a professional setting, like discussing salary, that happens, but the phrasing has to be, strictly formal. It's goal-oriented.
Right. Very specific language.
And third, and this is the most critical one, with strangers, casual acquaintances, or maybe distant colleagues,
Yeah.
you generally avoid sharing very personal money details. Full stop.
So if you stick to that context, rule closed circle, professional need, or just complete avoidance, you keep the conversation smooth.
You really do. It prevents so much awkwardness.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So once we know who we can talk to, we need the nuts and bolts of the language. Let's make sure we have the foundational vocabulary down, but let's focus on the usage, not just the definition.
Good idea.
Obviously, we start with the general term, money,
Mm-hmm.
but let's look at the methods of payment because this comes up every single time you buy something.
Every day.
We have cash, which is the physical stuff, coins and notes. Then we have card, which covers your debit or credit.
And this is where we start building that natural sounding speech. So instead of a learner saying something clunky like, are you paying using a card or notes?
Yeah.
A native speaker just asks, do you pay in cash or by card? That tiny little preposition, in cash or by card, it's a small detail, but it's so critical for fluency.
Exactly. And then you have the basic concept of cost.
Yeah.
We all know price. And the 2 poles, cheap and expensive. But let's introduce a little more nuance right away because cheap can sometimes sound a bit negative, can't it?
It can. It can imply low quality. That's a great B1 distinction to make. Instead of always defaulting to expensive, which is very direct, you could try alternatives.
Like what?
For instance, you could say something is a bit pricey or maybe costly. They're just softer ways of saying the same thing.
I like that. A bit pricey.
Yeah. And on the flip side, instead of just saying something is cheap, if what you really mean is it's a good deal, you call it a bargain.
Oh, I love that. So instead of that phone is expensive, which is fine,
It's fine, but a little flat.
you can say that phone is a bit pricey for what it is. And instantly you sound more thoughtful, more natural in your assessment.
Exactly. Master those basics and you're ready for like 90% of your daily transactions.
Okay, so here is where the cultural rubber really meets the road. Talking about income.
The sensitive topic.
It is. It's highly sensitive territory. And if you approach this too directly, you immediately break that social boundary we just talked about.
This is the core insight from the material, I think. We identified what we're calling the politeness principle.
Yeah, politeness principle.
Yeah, people talk about income indirectly precisely because they want to sound natural. It's a mechanism to avoid the awkwardness of precise numbers.
Which are generally seen as private.
Very private. So
Right.
if you come from a culture where asking, what is your monthly wage, is totally acceptable.
Right.
You have to mentally adjust that here. Asking that question directly will often be perceived as, well, as prying.
So we need phrases that give the feeling of your financial status without the spreadsheet data.
Yes.
And the sources highlight some wonderful, gentle ways to discuss your own salary. You could just state your reality by saying, I earn enough for my needs.
That's a great one. Or if you want to focus more on the logistics, you can just mention the frequency.
How so?
I'm paid monthly, or I'm paid every 2 weeks. This shares relevant info without putting a number on it.
And what if you're trying to manage expectations, like for a night out?
You might say something like, my salary isn't very high right now, but I'm okay. That's a polite disclaimer. It sets the scene.
And I love this one because it shows ambition without giving away your starting point. A very common and natural phrase is, I'm trying to improve my income.
Perfect. It conveys your focus perfectly without sharing a single uncomfortable detail.
And to connect this to the bigger picture.
That indirect approach is exactly what respects the social boundary.
Right.
If you accidentally just throw out an exact number in a casual setting, you create this immediate tension.
Because the other person feels like they have to share theirs.
Exactly, and they might not want to. Indirectness is just a social courtesy.
That distinction becomes vital in a professional environment, too. When you're interviewing for a job, you absolutely need to talk about compensation, but you have to keep the phrasing professional.
For sure. You would never ask, how much money will you give me every month?
Oh, no.
You have to use the established formal phrases. Instead, you'd inquire, what's the salary range for this position?
Range is the key word there.
It is. Or, if you want to clarify the commitment and how that affects pay, you ask, is this a full-time or part-time job?
These phrases are direct enough to get the essential information you need to make a decision.
But they remain professional and, respectful of that corporate structure.
The trick here seems to be using those key professional nouns, like salary and position, rather than just the general word money.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Okay, let's pivot to daily life. This is probably the most frequent context for money discussions: spending and budgeting.
Right, the everyday stuff.
We've got 3 key action verbs, and they're sometimes confused by learners, so let's be really precise about their specific focus.
Let's do it.
First, we have spend. This is your general action verb. It focuses on the act of using money, often over a period of time, and sometimes with, like, a hint of judgment. For example, I spend too much money on coffee.
Right. It implies it's a regrettable habit. I can relate.
Yeah.
Then you have buy. This is specific to getting a physical item. You always buy something.
The thing.
A thing. I bought a new jacket last weekend. It's a completed action that results in ownership.
Got it. And the last one.
And finally, pay for. This focuses on the money transaction itself, often for a service or a shared cost. I paid for dinner last night. It emphasizes that you covered the bill.
So understanding those 3 specific nuances helps you choose the perfect verb every time.
It really does.
And what are people spending money on? In these sources, the conversation is pretty universal. The most common daily expenses that everyone talks about are rent, food, transport, and bills.
These are such neutral topics. They let you discuss finances without getting too personal.
Exactly.
It's always safe to talk about shared high costs. You constantly hear people say things like, my rent is quite high this year.
We're talking about inflation, yeah.
Electricity bills are just expensive in winter everywhere, aren't they?
Discussing those rising costs naturally leads to the strategy for dealing with them.
Which brings us to saving.
Saving money is a topic that's become almost universal lately. And you don't need highly complex grammar to talk about this.
Yeah.
The simplest, most effective phrases just focus on your current actions.
Like?
I'm trying to save money. Or you can set a goal. I'm saving for a trip next summer.
Very clear.
But if you want to sound like you have a well-thought-out plan,
Yeah.
Moving toward that B1 or B2 level, you start using phrases that describe how you're saving.
How you're reducing expenses.
Exactly.
Absolutely. You might say something like, I'm cutting back on expenses, which means you're actively reducing your spending.
Or you could focus on a specific habit.
Right. I don't eat out very often anymore. Or just a general principle of caution. I try not to waste money.
Using these action phrases makes your conversation so much more dynamic and realistic.
It does.
And all that saving and cutting back is tied into the concept of a budget.
Ah, the budget.
Budgeting is critical in English conversation, and it's more than just a plan. It's a structured way to manage your income against your monthly expenses.
And if you're talking about a budget, you need those related terms. You're tracking your income against your monthly expenses.
Right.
And crucially, you need to understand the difference between necessary spending, like your rent, and discretionary spending.
Money for the fun stuff.
Exactly. Money you choose to spend on wants, like entertainment or new clothes. This allows for a much deeper conversation about financial control.
And once you've created this plan, you need the language to show you're sticking to it.
Or trying to, anyway.
Or trying to, yes. You would say, I try to stay within my budget. Or if you notice your spending is getting out of hand, you might tell a friend, I need to watch my spending this month.
We've all been there.
Or maybe just summarizing your improved habits. I'm much more careful with money these days.
These phrases are really the backbone of natural conversation when things get a little tight. Okay, now, let's go back to shopping for a minute. To making purchases. We want to move beyond just the simple binaries of cheap or expensive. We need to talk about value.
Oh, that's a good point.
This is where English speakers really assess the quality and the usefulness of an item compared to its cost.
This is a great level up for fluency because it shows you're thinking critically about the purchase. So here are the most useful comparative phrases. When something is good, you say, it's worth the money.
Or, it's good value.
Right. And if you regret the purchase, you say the opposite, it's not worth it.
Simple.
And remember that earlier phrase for when the quality just doesn't match the price.
It's too expensive for what it is.
That phrasing instantly elevates your whole assessment.
A simple sentence like, this jacket is expensive but it's good quality, contains 3 critical concepts.
Okay.
The cost, the quality, and the implication that the cost is justified. It's a very, very common conversational structure.
Now, since we're aiming for B1 fluency, we have to talk about idioms.
Yes.
Idioms are like the flavoring in conversational English, and knowing just a few simple ones related to money makes you sound incredibly fluent.
We've extracted 3 that are easy to remember and totally safe to use.
Okay, number 1, save for a rainy day.
A classic.
It's a classic. This is not about the weather, of course. It means saving money for the future, specifically for emergencies or unexpected difficult times.
So an example sentence would be,
I try to put a little aside every month and save for a rainy day. It's a very common piece of financial advice.
okay, the second one is incredibly useful for social planning. On a budget.
Oh, all the time.
Right. This just means you have a limited amount of money to spend, especially over a short period. So if your friends ask you out to a really fancy restaurant, you can politely say,
I'm on a budget this month. Maybe we can try that cheaper place instead.
it manages expectations perfectly.
No.
No awkwardness.
And the final one is purely for emphasis when you're describing something truly costly. Cost an arm and a leg.
I love this one.
If something is just excessively expensive, you use this. For example, I love that new electric car, but wow, it must cost an arm and a leg.
These 3 are conversational gold.
They really are.
And what's important is seeing how these simple elements combine in a real conversation. We found a great mini scenario in the source material.
Okay, set the scene.
So imagine one friend starts with a strategy. I'm trying to save more money lately.
And the second friend responds by acknowledging that universal context, the safe territory. I hear you. Everything is getting pricey these days, even groceries.
Then the first person shares their specific action, their cutback. I know, I'm spending less on eating out. I just can't justify the costs.
And the friend shares their coping mechanism. Same here. I'm mostly cooking at home now. It's been much better for my budget.
And that's it.
That conversation was so quick, so natural, and it used simple vocabulary like save, spending less, and budget.
That's exactly how real English conversations about money flow.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? Your path to confident money talk doesn't require complex economic vocabulary.
Not at all.
It requires focusing on 3 areas. Understanding the social context, using those action verbs correctly for spending and saving, and accurately discussing prices and value.
That's the core of it.
The ultimate takeaway here is that talking about money in English, it doesn't have to create anxiety. You don't need these long verbose explanations.
Simple is better.
Simple, polite, and contextual phrases are more than sufficient to sound fluent and really integrated into the conversation.
And we just keep coming back to that principle of polite, indirect language, especially when the details get personal.
Right.
We established that professional conversations about salary have to remain formal, and you generally avoid personal details with strangers.
So let's leave you with this final provocative thought that builds directly on the knowledge we've gained.
If your stated ambition is, I'm trying to improve my income, and you're discussing this professionally,
Maybe in a networking setting or a preliminary interview.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How might you communicate your desire for higher compensation or greater earning potential without ever revealing the specific exact number you currently earn?
Reflect on that dynamic tension and the power of language to convey meaning indirectly.